Hi, thanks for tuning into Sim's Workshop. So today we're going to be talking about A Girl of Hawthorn and Glass by Adan Jerreat-Poole. Okay, I really wanted to like this novel. I really did. I feel like I've read a lot of novels this year that I haven't really liked. And that's odd because usually I just read like one or two that I don't like. I've read like 4 that I didn't like this year. That's a lot for me. My husband says I'm too nice with my reviews because I always give 4 stars, which isn't true. You know, if I like a book, I like a book. And if I don't like a book, then I don't like it. But I see where he's coming from. But I think today we're going to be talking about a novel I didn't like, and I completely expected to love it. Based on the cover, based on the description, I completely 100% went into this novel with some pretty high expectations of loving it, and then I didn't. So so I think my first issue with this novel is probably the pacing. It's really choppy, the pacing. You know, it starts off one way, it looks like it's going to be like high tension, right? And then it sort of kind of forgets, I don't want to ruin it for you, but she ends up killing someone, and it's not really brought up again. Like, yes, she's an assassin, but she kills ghosts, not humans. And she ends up killing this human man, and she doesn't really understand it. And you know, I feel like the novel doesn't really address it directly. Like, the novel addresses it in a way, but it's sort of like a dismissive way. And I think that hinders the story a lot, because this big thing happens. You know, you do this big thing to lure the reader into the story, and then you just kind of throw it out dismissively. I think that it always kind of upsets me when authors do that, when they just sort of forget some really important detail and then don't really go back to exploring it, because then the reader is left like, wait, what about this thing that happened at this point, you know? I feel like it does a disservice to the plot. But after that, you know, Eli goes back to, and first, Eli is a made thing. She's made from bits and pieces. She's a girl, but she's made from bits and pieces of like hawthorn and glass and other things to make her. So her real form, she's like a girl, but she's got like weird shaped eyes. She has crocodile teeth. She's dangerous, basically. She looks like the embodiment of danger. She's a very high class, very powerful assassin for the witches, and they use her a lot to, you know, kill ghosts in the city of ghosts, which I'm going to get into that in a second. That was another thing that kind of bugged me. But, you know, she goes back home to the city vibes, and then she's sent back on another mission, and she's thrown into another high-stakes tension moment, except again, it's sort of just like, whatever, you know? The synopsis seems like this is the event that sends her to the witch coven, except it's not really this event that sends her to the witch, not the witch coven, the witch renegades. You know, and again, it's another one of those things that's not really addressed in the novel, because then you're just like, wait, why is she teaming? She's teaming up with them because she wants to know how she was made, not because she wants to find out why they're sending her to kill humans. I mean, it's just sort of, it doesn't hold, you know, it just doesn't hold the story together. I feel like it's very, sorry, I never know what to do with this mic, so I always end up just holding it. But I feel like it just doesn't hold well. It doesn't create a very cohesive story, and it really, that's a lot where the pacing has issues. It's like high tension, slow, and then it slows, slow, high tension. So it's a very choppy. It's very inconsistent as far as pacing goes. So that creates a barrier between the reader and the novel, because you're not kind of lulled in. When you're reading, you're like following the story, you're following the pacing, and as the pacing speeds up, your reading kind of speeds up, and then as it slows down, pacing happens as you're pacing yourself. It's very gradual. It's not like boom, boom, boom. You can have those climactic moments, right? But the reason they're climactic moments is because because it is the climax of the story. That's when the plot goes, and then it just kind of starts to trickle out. That diagram that they taught you in grade school, rising tension, climax. That's kind of how a story should function. But I feel like the story just doesn't function. It's not fluid. It's very choppy as far as the pacing is concerned. But another reason this story failed to capture my attention is also because the detailing is very scarce. The City of Ghosts is, by context, I guess it's our world. She reveals that you already kind of know, she's popping Advil because her head hurts. Where else are you going to get Advil? So you're already kind of knowing why. It's Earth, so I don't get why they call it the City of Ghosts. Yes, it's explained near the end of the book, but I still don't get it. I feel like it's an unnecessary detail to call Earth the City of Ghosts, because you're treating the entire planet of Earth just like one little city, and it didn't mesh well with me and my brain. Like, okay, it's explained later on somewhat why there are so many ghosts on Earth. It is explained, but again, it just seems like some useless detail. The City of Eyes, I get, the witches are always watching, their eyes everywhere. I get that, the City of Eyes. You want to call this world the City of Eyes, go ahead, do it. You need a way to define their world, so why not call it the City of Eyes? The City of Ghosts just didn't make sense. I felt, once again, like it was just a needless detail that the author just kind of threw in there just so that they could sort of have a parallel to the City of Eyes, which I thought was very unnecessary. But I also had a problem with the detail in this book. It lacks detail. It's just a lack of detail. Regarding character descriptions, lack of detail versus scenery and scene changes. I mean, it's very hard to follow when they are in the City of Eyes. They're in a desert, and then they're in a labyrinth, and then they're in a forest, and then they're at an island, and you're like, okay, great. There's not a lot of detail around these worlds, around these areas, and then they're underground, and then they're in a junkyard. It's like the author is non-binary. The author, they don't show the detailing in their writing when you're going from one scene to another. It's just very jarring. It's like there's this wall between each scene. It's just a wall between each scene, and then the scenes themselves lack structure and detail. They're all a little blurry. They're like me, it's how I see the world without my glasses on. It's all very blur. And that's how I felt when I was reading this book, because it left me ultimately, when I finished reading this novel, I was unsatisfied. It's like I had eaten a bunch of empty calories, so I was still hungry for something, some sort of substance, but it left me feeling very hollow. I mean, when I finished reading this book, I was like, what did I just read? And I said that. I finished reading it in the afternoon. I put it down, and I looked at my husband, and I'm like, I have no idea what I just read. Like, I didn't absorb anything because I felt like there was nothing to absorb. So, and that goes in hand with the pacing. That goes in hand with the lack of detail. And the lack of detail transcends the scenery, you know. I mean, I want to see more of this labyrinth, you know. I want more details on this labyrinth. I want more detail on this island. I want more detail on this adventure, this journey that these characters are going on. I mean, it's quite the journey considering the scenery changes. And you really only know the scenery changes because the author tells you them. You know, it's show. You should always show, don't tell. I think that's ingrained in my head from all my creative writing courses from college. And, you know, some of my literary classes as well. Show, don't tell. So you're only knowing the scene changes because she's telling you. I mean, because they are telling you the scene changes. And once again, a wall between me and the novel I couldn't really enjoy because I wanted to be shown these worlds. I wanted to be shown this adventure. But again, her lack of detail, I mean, their lack of detail, I'm so sorry. I really am. I keep messing up my pronouns regarding the author, so I do sincerely apologize. Their lack of detail transcends the story and goes to the characters, because there's one point, Cam, you know, this is like probably 3/4 of the way, she describes him as with his droopy mustache, and my immediate reaction was, since when does he have a freaking mustache? I'm like, was that mentioned? I think it was, but it was such a small little thing that the author just fails to and it seems to be like a really big thing, his personality, his mustache. So I was just like, since when does this dude have a mustache? Because it also didn't kind of like fit with the personality that she was trying to build. He came across way more juvenile than I think he's supposed to be. So this whole mustache really threw me away. And it seems like these characters are sort of in like they're like the new adult kind of group, you know, 18 to 24. That's where they seem like they are. But they read much younger. So it's, now that I'm thinking back to it, right, and I'm just like, how old are these guys? Because they feel more like they're 16, 17. They don't feel like the new adults that I think they should be. They just sound very juvenile as far as characters go, and I don't really think that meshes with this dude and his mustache. I know, I'm really stuck on that. I can't explain it. I'm just really stuck on this mustache because it came out of nowhere as I was reading. I was like, what the hell? I was like, since when does he have a mustache? It really caught me off guard. And then you kind of once again forget that this character has a mustache. And then when it's mentioned another time, you're like, oh, that's right, this dude has a mustache. It doesn't fit with the personality and the tone of the story. I know that's weird, but I think a lot of us, when we think mustache, we think kind of like mid-20s. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, you know. But he seemed much younger than he was supposed to be. They all did. And I also felt like there was a wall between their friendship as well. It felt like Tav and Cam and Eli, they didn't mesh together. I don't think they did. I didn't find their friendship believable. I wish I had, honestly, because once again, when I picked up this novel, I'm like, ooh, this sounds cool, but at the end of the day, I didn't absorb anything. You know, it left me feeling very hollow, very unsatisfied. I really thought there was going to be more to the story than there actually was. There's lots of plot twists, but once again, those plot twists don't really address the events that happen in like the first 3 chapters of the novel. And it's really, it feels just disjointed, you know? It feels like there isn't a cohesive story in this mix. And I really think that's quite unfortunate, because I think it could have been something spectacular. You know, I think it really could have been. But ultimately, I just didn't feel it. I'm sorry. But you know what? I'm never not going to recommend a book, because this is my opinion, and we all interpret books very differently. We all see the world differently, so books are going to affect us differently. So I'm never not going to recommend a book, because as a writer, I also do know that when an author writes, you know, they're kind of putting a piece of themselves in the book, you know. So yeah, I give this book 2 stars. The Girl of Hawthorn and Glass by Adan Jerreat-Poole is going to get 2 stars from me. Sorry. If you want to purchase this book and give it a shot, go ahead and purchase it from bookshop.org. I'll have a link in the description below. If you're iffy about the book based on this review, you know what, check it out from your local library. I always say give a book a shot. If you can't make it past the first 5 chapters, put it away. Return it. If you can make it past the first 5 chapters, you want to see how it ends, you know what, go ahead and finish it. If you're able to finish it, that means something. It did, I guess, leave some sort of impression on you. I mean, I guess we can say that it did leave an impression on me. Not a good one, but it did leave an impression on me, and I think that says a lot. It just ultimately disappointed me. So once again, Girl of Hawthorn and Glass, 2 stars. Purchase link will be in the description below. Please support your local libraries if you're a little iffy. Libraries are a great resource, and please do not forget to support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading!